The Metropolitan Police Department, with the support of the new federal agencies who have been surging on the streets of the District of Columbia, are going to enforce the laws that are already on the books here in Washington, D.C. For far too long, these laws have been completely ignored, and the homelessness problem has ravaged the city. So D.C. Code 22-1307 and D.C. Municipal Regulation 24-100 give the Metropolitan Police Department the authority to take action when it comes to homeless encampments. So homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services, and if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time. Again, these are pre-existing laws that are already on the books. They have not been enforced, which is part of the reason for this federalizing of the National Guard to bring in this assistance for law enforcement. While we are targeting criminals and trying to remove criminals off of the streets, we also want to make DC safe and beautiful, and that involves removing mentally disturbed individuals in homeless encampments as well. So we will be using these regulations and code that already exists to clean up our streets. Approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts. Last night, these arrests consisted of homicide, firearms offenses, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, fare evasion, lewd acts, stalking, possession of a high-capacity magazine, fleeing to elude in a vehicle, no permits, driving under the influence, reckless driving, and a bench warrant.
Words mean nothing. Actions mean everything. Watch this. Watch it very closely. Ask a lot of questions. Focus those cameras on everything that's going on, because this president is trying to lead us into what could be called a civil war.
President Trump will not be deterred by soft-on-crime Democrats and media activists who refuse to acknowledge this rampant violence on our streets.
Welcome to the Cryptoteacher.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And you know I come back with that video just to make you think. And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. We have Trump releasing a National Guard saying to the homeless, pay fines or risk going to jail. And we know for a fact if you're homeless, you can't pay a fine. Guys, we've seen this movie before. And we can clearly see the Black Swan being set up as a distraction so they can build this fourth industrial revolution. Remember, all politicians are paid puppets. And remember, the Cryptoteacher told you.
Makers, but more broadly, so people understand this.
Okay, two questions. You're growing 52%. Is that sustainable? And at the same time, we should note that you did lose money this quarter. Now, I know some of that was this IPO. But what does that look like to you as the year goes on?
Yeah, I'd say a couple things. I think the first is, as you noted, USDC in circulation grew 90% year over year to the end of Q2, and it's been accelerating. So since the end of the quarter to Sunday, August 10th, we've seen it go from 61 billion to 65.2 billion, and I think it's more today. But basically, we've seen this acceleration in transactions, and that acceleration obviously is tremendous. That's 49% year-to-date growth that we've seen in USDC. That's a fundamental driver of our revenue and of our revenue growth. And so when we look out, we don't give guidance on how much USDC is going to grow. It's sort of an economy, and you kind of see that. But if you zoom out and look at what analysts are saying, not just about Circle, but about the amount of stablecoin money that's going to grow. The CAGRs range from 25% to 90%, so an average CAGR is like 60%. We're happy to take the lower end range of that to say, hey, if we could grow 40% a year, that would be great.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, but what do you think is baked into the cake as you look at your own stock?
Well, look, I think the validation that we've seen in Circle and the sentiment around Circle is really about people understanding, I think in some cases for the first time, that the internet is colliding with the financial system. And it's happening. And just like open internet software, networks, and utilities change media and communications and retail and education, it's happening to the financial system. And stablecoin money is and blockchains are foundational to that future financial system.
So weigh in on this practical financial issue, which is that for stablecoins to work properly, they need to be backed by something, typically treasuries. There's a big question mark about who is going to be buying our treasuries in the future, and a view among some that the treasury market is ultimately actually going to be supported for some period of time as a function of the advent of stablecoins, because more people are going to need to buy these treasuries to back the stablecoins, and that should give a boost to the treasury market. Other people say, maybe, but it's really just a recycling of money because the money is going to come out of the banks. And by the way, if they're sitting over with the stablecoins, it's actually less efficient from an economic perspective, given that you actually can't effectively then loan against that money in the same way that a bank could.
I think a lot about these issues, obviously. I think first, the base layer of digital cash on the internet needs to be as safe as possible. And I believe that, the bipartisan policymaking, I think leadership from the administration has set in federal law that stablecoin money is going to be this very safe, fully reserved form of money. When you have money moving at the speed of the internet everywhere in the world, you need it to be as safe as possible. And short duration treasuries, there are multiple eligible forms of collateral for these, but it is at that short end, right? And cash as a kind of cash-like instrument. Now, I think the view that this crowds out the ability for lending to happen, I actually think is a mistaken view. I think that when you have super high velocity, very high utility money, people are going to want to borrow that. And I think we're going to see very robust credit markets develop that are operated on blockchain networks. And we'll see actually more efficient credit delivery with more transparency, more supervisability. We actually think we can get to a safer financial system with more effective credit delivery built on this new kind of stablecoin.
If you look at the facts, I like stablecoins, don't get me wrong. But if you look at the facts, you've only had 6% growth in USDC in circulation since the end of 2Q. It's basically been stale. It's not moving since April. So they're assuming a 40% CAGR, long-term CAGR. We're not seeing that in the numbers. So you have these really high ambitions. The reality is it's not moving.
But we did just have this big government policy push that enables stablecoins, no?
Correct. But people are not using USDC to the same extent that the hopes of the investors that are buying the stock are materializing. So there's reality, and there's these big ambitious targets and dreams.
So who would the users be? Are we talking about consumers and everyday Americans or people? Or are we talking about companies, fintech companies, many of which you cover, that are going to start adopting more of this technology and infrastructure?
It's a great question. So right now, a lot of people are using USDC to basically settle crypto or Bitcoin transactions on Coinbase. So that's good. By the way, Coinbase makes a lot more money off of USDC than Circle. That's a different topic.
Yes.
The use cases are B2B corporate payments, which is actually taking it away from the banks, and cross-border payments, which is not really touching the U.S. consumer. It's kind of a solution looking for a problem for U.S. consumer because payments is already pretty cheap and ubiquitous.
Now we have Jeremy O'Leary says that the internet is meeting the financial system. And we know everything is going to be tokenized and put on blockchain, and then also being ran by an algorithm without a human involved. Remember, these cryptos are for the machines. And Circle is starting off like all NWO companies. They're not profitable. And then also Coinbase is getting 50% of the revenue. And we know Goldman Sachs again has his hands all over both. And we have World Liberty Fi, of course, being backed by Trump. And it's moving its own stablecoin. And guys, remember, these stablecoins being backed by treasuries are nothing but CBDCs. And who does Trump work for? That's right, the banks. And we know the banks are the biggest what? I'll let you finish that. And remember, the Cryptoteacher told you. And we have Anthropic allows the government to use this software for 1 year. But remember, guys, these big corporations and big banks are all pushing the central bank's agenda for this new digital economy. And of course, AI is going to be running the economy. And it's one place where it all starts. And that's right, the military, the government. That's what they do the testing and then roll it out to the people. Even when you look at fast food, GPS, Facebook, all of it was tested by the government, military, and DARPA. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, these corporations come together. They don't compete. And again, we have more Fed members or former Fed members saying that it's time to cut rates because the labor market is clearly taking a beating. And don't forget, these corporations, the big ones, are not going to take a hit because they're going to slowly move in this technology as they're moving out humanity. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have China pushing back on NVIDIA's H20 chips. But again, this is a plan that moves in phases. We're going to have a chip war, trade war, currency war. The two are going to collide. The United States and China. And you're going to see the United States dollar slowly fall and America to Babylon collapse. And the rise of the BRICS led by China with that digital yuan backed by that digital SDR. And all you have to do is look at Belt and Road. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
World Liberty Financial, which has ties to the Trump family, including the president and his Mideast envoy, Steve Witkoff, is going to use Alt 5 Sigma Corporation to raise $1.5 billion for the purchase of its stablecoin WLFI token. Joining us now, World Liberty Financial co-founder and CEO Zach Witkoff.
That sits at the center of the World Liberty Financial. World Liberty Financial is the token that's part of this deal.
Correct.
Okay. It is the governance token that sits at the center of the World Liberty Financial ecosystem.
Okay.
USD1 is our stablecoin that Zach was just explaining.
Right. That is separate and apart from this whole situation.
Well, it's all part of the same thing. World Liberty Financial, the token sits at the center of it. USD1 is one of the products that we have rolled out.
Okay.
It's the fastest growing stablecoin of all time. And we're really excited to bring out some more things that are going to, really shock people.
That there's a lot of network effects, that there's actually maybe only going to be a couple of big winners because of the network effects. Is that how you see it? Or do you see, if we were sitting all together 3 years from now, that there would be a dozen players in this space?
That's a great question. So I kind of agree with him, and I believe that USD1 is going to be one of the leaders of the space. We have a very unique team. Myself, one of our co-founders, Chase Hero, our head of growth, our CTO, we all come from a crypto and DeFi background. All of us have been in the space for over 10 years at this point. We also are joined by the Witkoffs and the Trump family, who have deep relationships and experience in the TradFi business. There has never been a company like this, maybe in the history of finance, that brings visionaries and people who have the relationships and the experience together to create something so unique. And one other thing that I want to point out is USD1, we just announced the first ever point program for a stablecoin ever. So what that means is users of USD1 are going to be able to earn loyalty points similar to airline miles or credit card points for holding, transacting, and using USD1. This has never been done before, and it's going to create massive, massive effects for the growth.
Which raises the next question. Explain.
It was a big deficit month for the U.S. Treasury. The government ran a $291 billion deficit in July. That compares with about a $183 billion deficit that was expected among economists surveyed by Dow Jones. Now, July is almost always a deficit month. There aren't any big tax due dates for either corporations or individuals, but that is still a big miss there compared to expectations. It's also significantly worse than last July when the deficit was $244 billion. Now, these
Anthropic announcing today it's offering its Claude AI model to the U.S. government for $1. It's just the latest AI firm inking government deals in a push to win federal contracts. Mackenzie Sigalos has the latest in today's Tech Check. Hi, Mac.
Hey, Morgan. So you've got the biggest private AI firms slashing prices to virtually zero to get Washington hooked on their technology. So OpenAI set this trend last week when they announced an offer of ChatGPT Enterprise to federal agencies for $1 a year licensing fee. And now Anthropic today is matching that deal for Claude, but going even further. It's opening access beyond the executive branch to Congress and the courts and allowing use for more sensitive, unclassified work than rivals permit. You've also got Google's Gemini app reportedly in talks to do the exact same thing. And all this comes on the heel of these 3 companies being added to the federal approved vendor list. This is basically the government's central shopping cart that fast-tracks civilian agencies to buy and deploy new tools without facing months of red tape. It is a page from the Palantir playbook. You win those early government contracts, build deep ties with agencies like the Department of Defense, the FBI, and then you expand it into the commercial market.
Rates are going down than they are when they're going up. That'll really reopen that credit channel and provide that credit to small businesses, take a lot of the financing pressure off. And so that rally is being driven by, the expectations of rate cuts, which, as you said, I think there's a good chance they start with 50. And the way I get there is on September 9th, when we get the first estimate of the annual benchmark revision, it's going to look something like last year, negative 800,000 or so. And the Fed is going to realize not only were the revisions really ugly for the last month, but we're actually looking at a much slower job creation rate such that, supply of labor is coming down, but demand has weakened a lot more, and they really ought to be loosening policy, as I said. And then the small caps are the big beneficiaries of that.
Scoop that at the same time, or at least shortly after what we heard from President Trump, China has in fact been urging its own companies not to use NVIDIA's H20 chips in new guidance. This, again, is according to Bloomberg reporting. I've got more details on this. So, China has put out notices to a number of state-owned and private companies urging them to avoid using these H20 processors. These were the ones, of course, initially banned by the President Trump and his administration before, again, we got the news yesterday that NVIDIA could start selling them into the Chinese market if they give 15% of those revenues to the US Treasury. Over the past few weeks, according to Bloomberg reporting, Chinese authorities have sent notices to a range of firms discouraging the use of less advanced semiconductors. This, again, according to people familiar with the matter.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in an index, in ETFs, are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, is time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Xrp, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.